Imagine waking up one day to discover that the entire world has ended due to a catastrophic event. Every human on Earth has perished, except for you. Massive malls, luxurious hotels, and streets lie empty. Everything is free for the taking, and cities have been overtaken by nature. This is the premise of the 2025 post-apocalyptic series, Earth Abides. The story begins with Ish, a biologist living alone deep in the jungle for months, focused on his research. One day, a venomous snake bites him. Panicking, Ish drops his phone, losing his only way to call for help. Desperate, he makes a cut on his hand to suck out the venom. Living far from civilization, he drinks water to stay alive, but eventually collapses in his cabin, unconscious. As the venom affects his body, Ish hallucinates and remains in a critical state for days. One night, he hears helicopters outside. A group of scientists arrives, knocking on his door to rescue him. But unable to respond, Ish watches helplessly as they leave, assuming the cabin is empty. Days later, Ish recovers as the remaining venom leaves his system. Feeling slightly better, he decides to drive to a city hospital. However, as Ish enters the city, he is stunned. The roads are empty, and not a single living person is in sight. Thousands of cars are abandoned on the streets, their drivers lifeless inside. Realizing something catastrophic has occurred, he reads a sign explaining that a deadly disease wiped out nearly the entire population within days. Governments and laws have collapsed. Overcome with grief, Ish rushes to his parents' home, hoping to find them alive. When he arrives, Ish is devastated to find his parents have been dead for days. After mourning and accepting the harsh reality, he buries them, performing their last rites. Over the following days, Ish understands that he is likely the only survivor in his town. However, he holds on to hope that others may have survived elsewhere, people who might be immune to the disease, just as he was because of his isolation in the jungle. Determined to find other survivors, Ish packs a gun and supplies, heading toward Las Vegas. The main bridge leading to the city is blocked, forcing him to take a longer route. When he finally arrives, Las Vegas is eerily silent. The once bustling city is now a ghost town, with its grand hotels and casinos completely empty. Exhausted, Ish decides to rest in a luxurious hotel. With everything now free, he indulges in expensive wines, trying to ease his loneliness. That night, something unexpected happens. He is no longer alone. Survivors Milton and Anne enter the scene. Both immune to the disease like Ish, they share their story, revealing that they have been living in luxurious hotels for weeks, much like Ish. Milton shows him the final TV broadcast before the collapse, where scientists announced their failure to create an antidote for the deadly disease. Chaos followed as civil wars erupted across nations. People killed each other for ration supplies, and within days, almost everyone perished. Milton and Anne admit that Ish is the first living person they've encountered since the pandemic began. This means the number of survivors worldwide is likely incredibly small. Anne reveals a heartbreaking truth. She witnessed her husband and children die during a video call. Since then, she has lost the will to live. For the next few days, Ish stays with Milton and Anne in the luxurious hotel. Despite having access to branded clothes, expensive wines, and lavish surroundings, none of it brings them joy anymore. It feels as though the value of such luxuries vanished along with humanity. Milton confesses he was once a successful businessman, earning fame and wealth through hard work. Now, he has neither his family nor his reputation. He reveals that he keeps a gun with him in case the three of them decide to end their lives together. Terrified by this revelation, Ish panics and runs outside, determined to survive. Suddenly, he hears 2 gunshots behind him, confirming that Milton and Anne chose to end their lives. Once again, Ish is left alone, feeling as if he might truly be the last human alive. As he speeds out of the city in his car, he encounters a dog on the road. This dog becomes a symbol of hope and companionship for Ish. He names the dog Lucky and decides to take him along. With Lucky by his side, Ish begins to find a renewed purpose to live. Ish returns to his old home, bringing survival books and supplies with him. Lucky becomes his loyal partner, and together they adapt to this new life. With an abundance of food and resources, survival becomes easier. A year passes, during which Ish and Lucky form a strong bond. They explore abandoned cities during the day, always searching for other survivors. One day, while exploring, Lucky starts barking at a particular house, indicating that something or someone might be inside. Quickly heads there with Lucky. Upon arrival, they meet a young woman named Emma. Initially, Emma is terrified, but Ish reassures her that he means no harm. They both discover that they haven't seen another living person in over a year, and feel an immense sense of relief at finding each other. Emma decides to move in with Ish at his home. Together, they begin renovating the house, which Ish had barely maintained while living alone. With a nearby store stocked with unlimited supplies, they easily access food and essentials. The two develop a routine, finding new joy in daily tasks and hobbies. Their companionship gives them a renewed will to live. As their bond deepens, they recognize the possibility that they might be among the last humans alive and feel a responsibility to repopulate the Earth. However, with human civilization gone, wild animals begin to roam freely into the city. Ish takes steps to fortify their home, installing solar panels to ensure they have electricity. Soon, Emma becomes pregnant, which brings mixed emotions. While Emma is excited about their future, Ish feels uncertain about raising a child in such a bleak world. To prepare for the baby's arrival, Ish reads books on childbirth at the local library. Over time, their home transforms into a safe haven, complete with solar panels, a freezer for food storage, chickens for eggs, and other livestock for milk. They even grow a lush garden, as the air has become cleaner without human pollution. Life feels stable and nearly perfect, but they encounter a new challenge, an infestation of rats in the area. The rats begin invading their surroundings, forcing Ish and Emma to burn nearby garbage to keep them away. When that fails, they seal their home tightly. One night, Emma reassures Ish that they'll figure out a solution to the rat problem. Soon after, Ish captures several stray cats from the area, which gradually reduces the rat population. Finally, the day arrives for Emma to give birth. With Ish's assistance, Emma delivers a healthy baby girl. Overjoyed, they name her Hyder. They paint their address on a nearby building, hoping to guide any other survivors in need of food or shelter. 6 years pass, during which Ish and Emma's family grows. 2 years after Hyder's birth, they welcome a son, Alex, and Emma is now pregnant with their third child. They've also been joined by 2 other survivors, George and Marina, who found their home thanks to the address Ish painted. One day, while driving through the town, Ish narrowly avoids hitting a wild animal that suddenly appears on the road. He realizes that, with no boundaries left between forests and cities, wild animals frequently roam urban areas. As he watches the animal, he notices a terrified girl running nearby. Ish tries to stop her, offering her a red apple to show he means no harm. Trusting him, the girl climbs into the back of Ish's truck, and he brings her home. At home, the new girl remains nervous and refuses to leave the truck. Despite her fear, Ish, Emma, and the other survivors decide to give her time to adjust without pressuring her. Meanwhile, their community begins to grow, offering hope that humanity might slowly rebuild itself. The girl spent the night in the truck. The next morning, when Marina went to offer her food, the girl panicked. Marina tried to calm her by sharing her own story of survival, how she and her group had wandered for a long time before finding Ish and Emma's address. They had been living there peacefully for years with no shortage of resources. Marina then asked the girl to freshen up. While going through her belongings, she discovered strange drawings and a letter. The letter revealed the girl's name, Evie. Marina shared the letter with everyone. It was written by Evie's mother, requesting anyone who found her to take care of her. The letter also explained Evie's past trauma. During the outbreak, her father had physically abused her, leaving deep emotional scars. This was why Evie feared everyone. One day, her mother killed her father and helped Evie escape. The group decided to make Evie a part of their family. Soon after, Emma gave birth to her third child, whom they named Joey. Their family kept growing, and they lived happily for a year. One day, they received a signal indicating someone's arrival. They instructed the children to stay inside, while the adults armed themselves and went to investigate. They discovered another group of survivors who had found their address. This group included Molly, John, Ezra, and their son, Raph. Marina and her group welcomed them into their home. Molly revealed that they had encountered only 4 living people in the past 8 years and had no permanent shelter. Emma reassured them that this could now be their home, as there was no shortage of resources. Molly, who was a doctor, proved to be a valuable addition to the group. The next day, Ish explained the group's rules to the new members. With no boundaries left between the cities and forests, wild animals often roamed nearby. Thus, whenever someone ventured out for supplies, they needed to carry weapons and go in pairs. One day, all the adults ventured to the far side of the town, where there was a hospital. Molly gathered many useful medicines from there. They returned home with all the essential supplies. Jean, a singer in her previous life, performed for everyone. She also revealed that she was pregnant with Ezra's child. Meanwhile, George and Marina became intimate for the first time in years. Over the following months, both Jean and Marina gave birth to babies. Slowly, 14 years passed. Ish and Emma, the first couple to start a family, now had a large household. They were celebrating their eldest daughter Hyder's birthday. Ish began teaching all the group's children about the old world, how it was once thriving, how societies functioned, and how they would one day have to rebuild the world. One stormy day, they noticed their dog, Lucky, was missing. Ish quickly went searching for him and found him crushed under a fallen tree. Lucky had been with Ish since before Emma, at a time when Ish had lost all hope of living. Devastated, the group gave Lucky a proper burial in their garden, honoring him as the first member who had united them all. As time passed, Ish's family continued to grow. One day, a wild lion entered their home. To protect the children, Ish faced the lion head-on. Before anyone could rescue him, the lion mauled him badly. Molly, with the help of others, managed to save Ish using the medicines they had collected. Emma also shot the lion to prevent further attacks. After a few weeks of recovery, Ish was able to walk again. 17 years passed and the children had grown into young adults. Ish taught his sons Joey and Alex survival skills. Meanwhile, Ezra's son Raf and Ish's daughter Hyder grew close and expressed their desire to explore the outside world together. Understanding the need to repopulate, the group supported their decision. They equipped the couple with weapons, food, and supplies and sent them off to explore the world. The group realized they were running out of water. Due to the sudden extinction of humans, the weather patterns had drastically changed, and it hadn't rained in months. This created a severe water crisis for the group. Just then, they noticed two more vehicles approaching. Concerned, they rushed back home and alerted everyone, as there was a possibility that these new survivors could be dangerous and might try to take over their home. The approaching group was led by Charlie, who revealed that they were here to make a deal for oil. He explained that his group had a drilling machine that could dig a well and install a hand pump, ensuring a steady water supply for Ish's group. However, in exchange, they wanted all the oil Ish's group had so they could travel 500 miles to other regions. Given the dire water shortage, Ish and his group agreed, as the oil was of no real use to them. Following the agreement, Charlie's team began drilling in a designated spot. This process was expected to take several days, so Charlie's group stayed in their vehicles nearby. Over time, Ish began to notice that Charlie wasn't as trustworthy as he seemed. He had previously killed many survivors for resources. Realizing this, Ish warned his group to be cautious and prioritize the safety of their home. Emma suggested not to worry too much, as Charlie's group would leave once the drilling was complete. After 4 days of drilling, they finally struck water, bringing joy to everyone. Ish told Charlie that their deal was fulfilled and that he and his group could take the oil and leave. That night, as everyone celebrated, Ish remained uneasy, suspecting Charlie might not leave peacefully. Late at night, Ish heard someone shouting outside and rushed to check. He saw Charlie coming out of a room with Silas, one of Charlie's men, standing guard to alert him if anyone approached. Ish hurried to the room and found Evie crying inside. She revealed that Charlie had assaulted her. Furious, Ish gathered his group and informed them of what had happened. The others shared their concerns, noting that Charlie's group was heavily armed and had no intention of leaving. Ish suggested that they had no choice but to eliminate Charlie, as allowing him to stay posed a threat to everyone. Although some were hesitant, they ultimately agreed that Charlie's actions could not be ignored. That night, they executed their plan and killed Charlie before his group could retaliate. Ish felt guilty for taking a life for the first time, but knew it was necessary to protect his group. The next morning, they informed Charlie's group about his death. They gave the remaining members a choice. They could either stay and contribute to the group or leave immediately. Most decided to stay, admitting they were relieved to be free from Charlie, who had been abusive and exploitative, even towards the women in his group. However, Silas, Charlie's closest ally, was furious and wanted revenge. Fearing an attack, Ish's group expelled Silas despite his protests. Left with no choice, Silas eventually tried to return, but the group refused to let him in, punishing him for his complicity in Charlie's actions. As time passed, the group grew stronger and more organized. 20 years later, the world had changed significantly. The children of the group were now experimenting with new technologies, including a glider that could help them navigate the mountainous terrain. However, soon after, many group members fell ill, showing symptoms similar to the virus that had devastated humanity years ago. Dr. Molly revealed that while the group had developed immunity to the original strain, the virus had evolved into a new, less potent form. She assured them that she could find a cure, and the healthy members began caring for the sick. Ish's son Joy was in critical condition, causing great concern among the group. One day, Ish's eldest daughter Hyder returned home alone. She and Rafe had left earlier to explore the outside world, but had faced significant challenges. Hyder recounted their journey. They had driven through countless abandoned towns, searching for survivors, but found no one. While camping on a hillside, they spotted a man in the distance. Hyder tried to follow him, but he fled. Later, the same man ambushed them, holding Rafe at knife point. To their shock, they realized it was Silas, the same man Ish's group had expelled years ago. Silas, seeking revenge for Charlie's death, had tracked them down and attacked Rafe with a knife. After that, Hyder had no choice but to kill him, but by then, it was too late. Rafe had already taken his last breath. Hyder buried him on the beach and began his journey back. On the way, his car broke down, so he decided to complete the rest of the journey on foot. Soon, Hyder discovered that more than half of the group members had contracted the same illness that had spread 20 years ago. However, this variant wasn't as powerful as the original one, and Dr. Molly was working tirelessly to find a cure. To bring down little Joey's fever, they even made him lie in cold water. Over the next few days, thanks to Dr. Molly's medicines, most of the group members recovered. But sadly, the medicine didn't work on Joey. After one last conversation with his parents, Joey passed away. Ish was devastated by this loss. Along with Joey, 3 more members of their group had also died. Emma, noticing Ish's despair, tried to console him. She reminded him that when they had nothing, it was just the 2 of them who survived together. Now, they had an entire group, and it was their responsibility to rebuild Earth for the future. She urged him not to lose hope and to prepare the children in the group for what lay ahead. Ish, seeking solace, went alone to a hilltop to watch the sunrise. For the first time, he realized how much the world had changed in the last 20 years. Returning to the group, he told them that they had been heading in the wrong direction all along. They had been trying to recreate the world as it used to be, but that world no longer existed. Instead, they needed to adapt to nature and learn how to survive in this new world. From that moment on, they decided to let nature guide them. They began working together to restart their radio communication system so they could stay connected. Their goal was to establish a new human society. They organized social events to teach the children about human social behavior and started renovating nearby ruined cities to create a sustainable living environment for their new civilization. 50 years passed, and the world had transformed. An elderly Ish, now with his grandson, shared how this new human civilization was their legacy. He encouraged his grandson to carry it forward. With this hopeful and inspiring message, the series comes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel for more such content. Thank you.